And my name, for those of you who don't know me, is Danny Schultz, and on behalf of the Westchester Jewish Council, I am honored to be hosting today's event, part of the WJC's Israel Connection series, very successful monthly program that we've run. For those of you who don't know, the WJC, the Westchester Jewish Council, is an umbrella organization. It's an umbrella organization representing a very wide array of Jewish groups and organizations in Westchester, 135 Jewish groups, schools, synagogues, and other institutions, Westchester being the largest suburban Jewish community in the United States, totaling 150,000 citizens. We are honored to have with us today our new shlicha. So I'm going to hand over the show to Elliot Forsheimer, our esteemed director, and have him introduce Hila to us, and then we'll jump back into the program to learn more about our guests and what they do.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, Danny. For those of you who don't know, Danny is not a professional newscaster. He does this as a beloved hobby and does a wonderful job. So I want to thank everybody. News out of Israel for the last 445 days has not been good. And our antidote to that, because the war will end and Israel will go on and Israel will thrive. And we're so blessed to have with us in Westchester for the next few years a shlicha, an emissary from the Jewish Agency. Her name is Hila. She's here today, and she brings such joy and so much ahavat Israel, so much love for Israel to Westchester and to our office and to our work. So I wanted you to have a chance to at least say hi to her, and then she's available to come to your house for dinners and bar mitzvah and Thanksgiving and everything in between. She has a wonderful team. So it really is just a quick hello, and maybe another time Danny will bring her on and give her the full treatment with probing questions. So just wanted to have a chance for Hila to say hi.
So hello, everyone, and really honored to be here. And thank you, Elliot, for the introduction. I have to say that the Westchester Jewish Council is amazing, and I'm here for 3 months and trying to understand better the communities and to understand Westchester better. So I'm honored and thank you. And by the way, it was my first Thanksgiving here and the first time I see a full turkey in the middle of the table. So it was really an experience. So I'm here and really like for anything you want, and love to bring my input and my love for Israel during the time that I'm here.
Well, toda rabba, thank you, and we look forward to having you on one of our next Israel Connection Series events. So let's jump into today's discussion. Friends, as Elliot alluded to, we are in unprecedented, difficult, painful, frightening times, and we're on, I believe, day 425 of this war and hostage crisis. And before we dive in, I think we've got a lot to cover, but we still have roughly 100 hostages, souls, humans to bring home. So it's appropriate for us to have a moment of silence for them, to think about them and to pray for them. Thank you. So today, I'm thrilled to welcome as our guests representatives and doers and builders from Dror Israel, 2 exceptional women who you're going to get to know. You're going to get to know them by hearing about the work that they do. We have with us both Nirit Sulema and Inbal Ron, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then I'm going to very swiftly turn it over to them to tell you all about Dror Israel. There's a very interesting history to Dror Israel. We're not going to spend a lot of time going into that because their hands have been full, as you can imagine, since October 7th, doing absolutely amazing, beautiful work. And so let's get going. Nirit leads Dror Israel's international relationships and engagement. She previously coordinated the Dror Israel Urban Educators Kibbutz in Akko from 2012 to 2019, and there she initiated several educational projects, including the Akko Shared Society Center, which bridges Jewish and Arab youth. Mirit has also worked with at-risk youth in Akko and led the first ever Arab group of teens in young counselor training with Dror Israel. She is very active in promoting sex-positive education and shares her own experiences as a lesbian in Israel's periphery. And Mirit lives herself in Akko as well, with her partner Shiri and their son Uriah. Inbal is the executive director of Dror Israel Educational Center Schools Network. That's the title. She is, though, a renowned expert and pioneer in the field of public education. She has 20 years of experience developing and operating award-winning schools and educational frameworks, especially for at-risk youth. And Inbal has been and is a driving force in innovative education and an important leader in building healing and resilience initiatives for Israel's youth. And we all know that healing and resilience are two very, very important things that we need today in Israel and, to be honest, all over Jewish communities worldwide today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to both of you. And then when you're done with your presentation, we're going to jump into some questions that I've got. And then we will open it up to the group in the remaining 15 minutes or so to take questions from the audience. And remember, for those of you who are asking questions, type them up in the chat window. We won't take them directly. It's just easier to manage if I read them back for both Mirit and Inbal. And let's get going. Mirit, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Danny. Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here, or like online here. And I really appreciate the time that you all took to hear stories from Israel and people from Israel. And it really means a lot to have you all here with us. As Danny said, my name is Mirit. I'm 35 years old, and I live for the past 15 years. I'm an educator in the Akko Educators Kibbutz, which I hope that you understand what is an educators kibbutz or educators community by the end of this session. In the past 7 or 8 weeks, I haven't been able to be home because of the escalation up north. So me and my family had to move to live with my parents in Tel Aviv, which was not quiet, but more quiet than having between 1 to 5 sirens every day. The city really was hit strong, and it was really scary time. So on Saturday morning, I was able to return to my home with my family and hopefully to stay here and be able to live my life in my home with my family securely and hopefully peacefully. And I'm happy to be here with you. And Inbal, would you say a few words about yourself before I do this PowerPoint? You need to unmute yourself. Okay. Okay.
Hi.
I think she may need help. Oh, there we go. You are unmuted.
I'm okay. It was a hard time, but now I'm okay. So my name is Inbal. I live in Tel Aviv. I am one of the establisher of Dror Israel community. Something like 25 or 27 years ago, I established our first educational kibbutzim, Shval, which it is the north, but now I live in Tel Aviv. And I will let you know more about me and my work after Mirit will tell you about all of Dror Israel programs.
Okay, so I think I'm sharing my screen now. Do you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, we do. Fantastic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. So I'm going to give you this short presentation. I hope it will be as short as I can to explain a little bit about Dror Israel, which is not easy to explain. So I have a hard job work for the next 10 minutes. I really believe that you can understand our work better on the ground if it sits in the context of what Dror Israel is, and in order to understand what we do after October 7th, you need to kind of like at least a little bit understand who we are and what we've done before October 7th. So I'll try to explain a little bit about that. And to understand our areas of work and our goals and what we do during the emergency. So Dror Israel says, do you see the presentation? I want to make sure. Okay. So Dror Israel sends trained educators to live and work on the social and geographic periphery of Israel in what we call educators community. So you can see the little dots on the map. These are our educators communities. We have 16 of these educators communities and a total of 1,300 educators on all of them. So it means if you do the math, it means that we have about between 60 to 120 educators in each one of these communities or kibbutzim. We call them actually kibbutzim. And they live and work nearby where they live, devoting their lives to make social change through the work of education and community building. We have three main operations. The first one is Dror Israel's operates Israel's biggest Jewish Arab youth movement with over 400 chapters all over the country. We have a network of award-winning schools and preschools for at-risk youth with a special pedagogy-based, dialogue-based pedagogy, which is what Inbal leads, and she can explain a little bit about that. And we have over 150 local initiatives that each educators community creates to tackle local challenges where they live. So the educators community in Mitzpeh Ramon will be different than the educators community in Akko, because Akko and Mitzpeh Ramon has different challenges. So each of these kibbutzim would look a little bit different and will have special initiatives to tackle hands-on the challenges of where they live and where they work. Inbal, do you want to say a few words about the schools and the preschools?
Maybe I will say that at the beginning in 1997, when we just established the first educational kibbutz, we didn't think that it will be that spread of our mission all over Israel. We want it, but we can't imagine in 1997 that it will be like this. But now I can say that I'm really proud in what we are doing all around Israel, all over Israel, because I believe that education is maybe the most important work that Israel needs right now, in the past, but right now after the crisis that we had. So I'm very proud of the movement of the educators all around Israel.
Okay. Now, our vision, I think it's important. We want to see Israel that is based on the ground values of democracy, Zionism, and shared and inclusive society. And we work every day through education and community building towards that mission. In our vision, all Israelis share responsibility over their homeland. And this is why we work with all sectors of society to empower people of all ages to become leaders of their own communities and to see themselves as responsible for their lives and the lives of their community. Now we move to talk a little bit about emergencies. In our DNA, we feel the need to be there for people who need us the most. In each situation, in every place, this is like really rooted in our DNA. when we see an emergency, we know to jump into action really fast. And sadly, we can now say that we have a record of being there fast and first. In 2006, in the Second Lebanon War, at the peak of Israeli summer, we established and ran safe summer camps for kids from the north for over 5 weeks, with 11,000 kids and youth that participated in these summer camps. We took the kids from the war zone, from being bombed, and we gave them weeks of camp away from the noise and the anxiety of the war. And for people who couldn't leave their home, our educators' communities in the north really replaced the municipalities who stayed empty, and we provided critical needs for the wounded, the elderly, and people who couldn't afford leaving. In 2014, in Protective Edge operation, we operated educational day activities in more than 200 shelters down south for people who moved to live in their shelters. In 2020, with COVID at first and the second lockdown of COVID in Israel, we operated over 18 daycare centers for kids of essential workers inside the hospitals, with over 2,000 kids participated in these daycares. In 2022, we sent 100 educators over 10 weeks to establish and run daycares in the largest refugee center in Poland, the Patak Center. And participated actively in absorbing the immigrants and the Olim who chose to come to Israel with daycares for the children in the absorption centers and in the hotels. But then October 7 hit, and it was really something else, and different scale and different in everything we knew. And like I told you before, since we are running programs in almost every city and village and kibbutz in Israel, we are very much rooted in the communities, either big or small, kibbutz, moshav, Arab villages, Druze villages, it doesn't really matter, we're there. And it means that we didn't need any special or new frameworks when October 7 hit. So our educators were already there inside the communities. And we sent our educators to over 80 hotels, these refugee or evacuation centers, to start daycares for the evacuated traumatized kids and the hotels. And we were there with the people who stayed home in the shelters. And our educators from the educators community in Sderot, for example, were evacuated themselves with the residents of Sderot, and they started to build community councils in the hotels in order to give the evacuated people of Sderot the power back to their hands. And Inbal started to talk a little bit about it, but it's like a question, why is education so important now? And this mission of empowering people to become leaders is, even in our eyes, it's even more crucial when people are seen as like poor or traumatized, because gaining your power back, gaining the power to lead, it really gives people strength. It's taking them from being helpless to being helpful. I think, I don't know if like any of you know anyone who doesn't get better when they have a responsibility, when they feel helpful. And this is what builds resilience, the Israeli resilience that everybody likes to talk about so much. So that's, in our eyes, that's the power of education. I'm going to cover really fast a few different aspects of our current programming. But I need to explain a little bit the reality on the ground in Israel right now, which really changes every few weeks. So when I built this presentation,
every few hours, maybe.
Yes, every few hours. So really, when I built this presentation, the reality was different, and I had to change this little slide. So there are 3 different types of emergency that are all happening in the same time. We have over 800 people remained evacuated, with some promise they can go back home starting in 2 months, and some are like maybe only at the beginning of the school year. We have the communities in the north, after a significant escalation, really shattered communities who had to stay home and run to the safe room somewhere between 4 and 10 times a day, sometimes even more. with kids who are afraid to leave their house, that only had 2 weeks of school since the beginning of this school year. And at the same time, many communities around the Gaza border area have begun to return home and grapple with really new challenges. And these aren't linear stages. They are all happening at the same time. You can see some of the pictures of the programs that we have for each one of these situations. And since October 7th, into the foreseeable future, we're running essential social, educational, rehabilitation, and healing services. And it's really tailored to the individual and the community needs, while simultaneously working to support all communities under fire or not under fire. Really, I don't think there's a child in Israel today that is not traumatized and is not hasn't experienced some situation of the war, even if they live somewhere that is not like under fire. We still work in over 30 hotels with evacuees from Kiryat Shmona, Re'im, Be'eri, and more, running various programs for their kids and youth. In Hanukkah, we will throw a leadership course for 50 teenagers from Kiryat Shmona to prepare them to be the leaders of the return home. During the current escalation, we worked inside the shelters up north, but we also took kids and families out of the war zone to a safe place or to restorative trips to allow them to feel at ease and to gain some power back to go back to the community and help others. And one of the most pressing needs is to strengthen the communities who suffer October 7th. So we already established 2 new educators groups of 4 educators in the regional councils of Eshkol and Sha'ar HaNegev, which are at the Gaza area, and brought 40 new educators to these regional councils, as well as 40 new educators to our educators community in Sderot. And 2 days ago, a new group of 15 educators moved to the Upper Galilee, and another one is being now recruited to move to Kiryat Shmona to strengthen these communities. So we understood that it's not enough to go and work there, and these places really need new people, and they need to be empowered with young, excellent educators. There's much more to talk about, but this is like the very highlights. I'm sorry. And I'll hand it over to Danny, I think.
Okay, I think I'm not on mute. Now, Inbal, were you going to weigh in with anything? Are you going to be part of our Q&A here? Because I'm happy to jump into that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, not in any particular order, and we've got enough time to cover a lot of this. One of the comments you made struck me as interesting, which was you mentioned about 400 Arab chapters. Now, are those exclusively Arab?
No, not just Arab.
Youth,
not just
or
Arab.
Are they?
It's 400 chapters in our youth movement, and 20% of our youth movement members are Arab. So we have about 50 chapters in Arab villages and towns.
Fantastic. Okay, very helpful to understand. Okay, I'm glad I asked. Now, you know, I have to say, I've heard a little bit about Dror. I mean, I get so much out of when we do these things because it sounds like none of you ever sleep and that you're sort of all like octopuses with 8 arms. Where are all these educators? I mean, you mentioned all these educators. I imagine that, you know, you have a shortage, and you probably do have a shortage of educators, but it sounds like there's a pool of individuals who are quite devoted and motivated to jump in and participate in these communities. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Yes, of course. We have, we all came, our background is from youth movement, which called Hanor Oved Valomed. It's like Habonim.
Are you a Dror Habonim, both of you?
It's a sister movement.
Okay. No, I only ask that because I noticed in doing some of my own research that you have some very fantastic and well-known individuals who are also Habonim Dror graduates, right? Shall we say. Sasha Baron Cohen, J.J. Goldberg, Chaim Herzog. somebody named Golda Meir, Michael Oren, Mark Regev, Mordechai Rickler, whose books I love, Seth Rogen, who's very funny, but he needs to be re-educated by Dror Habonim, I think. So in any event, that's quite an illustrious group of individuals. I hope you're reining them in and getting them involved in helping Dror Israel as well. That's a suggestion of mine.
So it's
so who else? Go ahead.
Just to explain that Habonim Dror is sister movement to Hanora Oved, which is the Israeli Zionist Jewish movement that was established in 1924. It's separate movements, but as said, it's sisters. And some of the alumni of Habonim Dror who choose to make Aliyah are becoming educators of Dror. And I would definitely say that the educators of Dror are extraordinary people, and we do always have a shortage, but also during the war, over 20% of our educators were recruited to the army back to reserves. So we had to do double the work with I think a lot less people, with 20% less people.
Right. All right, so let's hit some data points for a second. So how many youth are currently participating in educational programs of Dror? And it's a big number, as far as I understand.
It's not only youth. Dror programs have, I think, between the age of 3 to elderly senior citizens, because we have, as I said, like local initiatives for whatever needed. So our yearly reach is about 150,000 people.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, that's dramatic and very, very impressive. Are you working with other organizations, also grassroots organizations, and more sort of institutional groups like, say, a Natal, or I don't know if Achim Laneshek gets involved. I don't even know what they're doing now per se, different from what they did, obviously, in the first weeks of the war. But are you working with other similar types of organizations that are trying to really help people that are living, in hotels and have moved out of their communities and have young kids who need to be educated? Who else are kind of in this network of help?
Actually, I was I think the first from our movement to arrive to the hotel, because my sister is from Be'eri and from Kibbutz Be'eri, and right the morning of the 8th of October, I came to see her and to check that she is alive. And then I established their kindergartens and after it their schools. And I met really, really great partnerships like Achim Laneshek, like Israel. I don't know if you know them, but they're really cool organization. And
which one?
Israel.
Israel.
Oh, Israel. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we succeed to do our work with them. And Achim Laneshek are now our partners with the new groups in the south of Israel, which Merit told about, in Re'im and Be'eri, and they are really great friends of us.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear. So maybe you could share, just a couple of actual personal stories that might hit home about, some success stories, either in a particular community or particular family or young kid or older individual. If you have, that would be helpful.
Maybe if you can start.
Pressure's on.
Yeah. So I think that we have so many of these stories, and it's really hard to choose. I think that one of the most I think, unique stories is one of the things that Dror Israel did before the escalation started up north, because everybody was talking about how it's going to get really bad in the north and we won't have electricity 3 days and we don't know what's Hezbollah's abilities, and there was such like nightmare scenarios. So we decided to prepare and to prepare the communities that we work with. And one of the things that we did is that we sent we sent young leaders, the young counselors from the cities and kibbutzim and moshavim up north, from the line of Haifa up north, to learn how to be young counselors under fire. We assumed that if this nightmare scenario is going to happen, then people will be stuck in their neighborhood shelters for who knows for how long. So we trained these young, 16-year-olds. We gave them a kit, a bag with all kinds of different supplies like crafts and arts and games and all this. And we gave them a booklet, and we trained them on how to guide and lead under fire kids that are terrified and scared. And one of the kids that I met in one of the shelters, neighborhood shelters in Akko, is Idan. Idan's family had to move into the neighborhood shelter because they don't have a safe room at home. So they lived in the shelter in very bad conditions with other 7 families for 7 or 8 weeks. And there were about 20 kids all together in the shelter. And Idan took his bag, the kit that we gave him before, with him to the shelter. And he was the young counselor of 20 kids for 8 weeks. He asked me to bring 2 other kits because the supplies were over. And he just was amazing. He chose to be a leader. He chose to have a meaning. And he did what we trained him to do. And we didn't really know how it was going to go, if things really hit, if it's really hard. And it was hard for them, but he really provided essential help and support for the parents who had to leave their kids and go to work. And Idan was there for them, and he was there for the kids.
That's fantastic. That's great. Inbal, anything come to mind on your end?
I can tell about, as I said before, I started to establish in the 8th of October the kindergartens and the preschools at the hotel of Be'eri, Kibbutz Be'eri, which were located in the Dead Sea. And of course, I couldn't do it by myself, so I called my friends from Dror Israel, and I told them, please come to help me. And they're all educators and know how to work with kids. And they came to be with me at the hotel. And after, I thought it will be for a short time, but it was for 11 months. And those members of Dror Israel decided to bring their families to the hotel with their kids and live with the community of Be'eri. And maybe I think the most incredible thing that now the community of Be'eri live in Chatzerim. They have caravans set in Chatzerim, and our friends move with them to Chatzerim to continue the educational work over there. I think it's something that show about Dror Israel members and how they're dedicated to their mission.
No, that's actually pretty incredible. Now, just so we understand, so you have, they are teaching with school books, with curriculum, with, okay, incredible.
They're all training educators with they know the work. We work with the Ministry of Education, of course.
So tell us a little bit now, you know, a couple of things. One is what is missing from what you're doing? You know, if I always like to at times ask people, you know, if you're asleep and it's 2 a.m. and somebody woke you up and said, what do you need to accomplish your goals? Whatever comes out of you at 2 a.m. is going to be fairly genuine and organic. So, Mirit and Eva, what can you tell our group here? What do you feel is missing? What is the most pressing need? Funding, maybe not, I assume so, but that aside, what do you need to achieve your mission?
First of all, we need the war to end and we need the hostages back home. That's the first thing we need.
No question. No question.
One of the things that we need is funding. Just to give you the very superficial impression, government of Israel, which is about 70% of Dror Israel's budget, hasn't been able to pay a lot of our funding since the beginning of the war. And we are running on our good vibe and love for what we do. And there's no, like, the future is, we don't know what's going to be. And also we have an increase of the demand, that there's a huge demand to our work. We've opened new chapters. We enlarged our communities. We recruited new educators. So really, we are working 24/7 in order to be able to answer to every call, to every call for action for whoever is asking. That's why the need for funding is great. And also the need for professional help and guidance, which also always helps us a lot. Inbal, do you want to elaborate?
Yeah, maybe it's not really things that people can give us, but I think that today in Israel, there is no one who sees the whole picture of what the kids and the teenagers in Israel needs. And they need a lot, but there is no really one program which see the whole picture. And I miss it because I'm only one organization in Israel, and there are a lot of more good people, as you mentioned before, but there is nothing that combine all those good people that want to do good things, but you know, when it's a problem.
No, totally understand that. And tell us a little bit about, for a second, in terms of the number of educators that you've got, and I know this is a sort of a kibbutz structure, but I mean, October 7th is only it's a year ago. I don't want to say only a year ago. It should end immediately. But just in general with your educators, how long is the tenure or the participation or the attachment with Dror? Like, do you have educators that have been with you for 5-10 years? I imagine with the influx of the need that you have many teachers and educators that have only been with you for a year, as you know, the devastation of October 7th, you know, really took root. But you know, people are staying with kind of the structure and the kibbutz structure and the system that you are building?
So
does that make sense?
Yeah, we really have, I think, 2 types of educators, but it's really like 1,000 types of educators. But it's 2 main types of educators. One is that an educator who chooses to join an educator's community or an educator's kibbutz. And that really is a lifestyle. I mean, it's people who want to turn education to their entire life and are committed to the mission, also with their moving somewhere and being a part of a community of educators, which doesn't really end. it's like based on the will of someone to be a part of the community. And
Right.
usually people join after the army and they leave when they want to. Inbal is a member of an educators community for the past how many years, Inbal?
Tell me that. Too many.
Too many.
I knew you were going to say that.
And the other type of educator is an educator who wants to be an educator, but doesn't want to be a part of one of these educators kibbutzim, and they choose to join a school or join a program. And
yeah,
just
we have
be an educator.
thousands. Yeah, today we have thousands of educators who come to our trains, and we are just give them, you know, the basics and the power to be more involved in the educational mission. And they are part of our community.
Are you doing any active recruiting of young teachers here in the U.S. through college campus Hillels or through other? It's a lot to ask. I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. It's a resource issue, and a time I could see the looks on your faces there.
We don't like, it's a yes and no question. We normally, the alumni of Habonim Dror who wants to be a part of Dror are making Aliyah and being a part. Lately, we started like, so the communities that the new educators groups that we started in the north and in the south, in the Gaza area and up north, these are really new baby kibbutzim. And we did launching these days, a program for young students and graduate students from America who wants to be part of those communities and come for either 3 months or a year and educate and be social workers. So that is an option, and we really welcome educators who want to do that and they don't have to make Aliyah. It can also be just to help for a year or for 3 months.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. That's perfect, because I was just about to ask you about new initiatives that you're working on that you can share. Let me ask a different question also. I mean, my family has been a little bit involved in the Israel Lacrosse Association, which is associated with the Kraft family, and they're in, I'm embarrassed to say, I always forget whether it's Ashdod or Ashkelon. Isn't that horrible? But they are down south. And my question is really about sports. So it's a critical component for all of these kids for what's going on in their lives now, but are you working with other sports organizations or just integrating on your own with coaches and other organizations to bring that kind of release, emotional and psychological release, and life lessons to many of these kids?
I think Inbal can say about the sports programs in the high schools and in the preschools, but Dror Israel has a sports organization called Hachalutz. And
actually, they make their programs in our schools also.
Oh, really? So they're trained trainers, sports trainers who go to schools and neighborhoods and after school places and programs, and doing sport groups for professional. It's like for everyone. And they're really offering sports as a way of ventilating your feelings, but also as a creation of equality and talking about how to play sports fairly. And it's also between Jews and Arabs. So it really brings also that aspect. And they actually were working in the hotels in Eilat for the evacuees, for the children that really suffered a lot. And they brought sports to those hotels and to those communities. So yeah, we do that a lot.
Would you say, or maybe you could tell us, what percentage of the families and the youth you're working with are families that have been displaced? Because it sounds like there's a lot of that. But what percentage are also families and young children who unfortunately have lost a family member, and now maybe have lost one parent or are orphans themselves, which I imagine is a smaller percentage, but probably more demanding and needing in terms of support, all kinds of support.
So I don't think we have a
we
number.
Yeah, we don't have numbers, but of course, in the place, in the kibbutzim in Sderot, which we are working over there, so a lot of the kids lost their parents, their grandparents, and more than 70% of the kids of the kibbutz Be'eri, and I think something like 50% of the kids from Sderot, which we work with. And
Right.
of course, from kibbutz Re'im and the other kibbutzim in the Gaza.
Yeah, I think
Right.
one of like a few of our youth movement members, students were murdered on October 7th. Some of them were taken hostage, and some came back, which is amazing. One of the participants of one of the students of our Young Leaders course this summer was a student who came back from being a hostage from Gaza. Yeah, and a lot of our students lost a family member in the Gaza area, but also as children of reserve soldiers, brothers and sisters of reserve. And I think, actually, Danny, that I don't know if there's someone in Israeli society who's not a relative or knows someone who was either murdered or killed during this war.
Sure. And I was remiss in not asking you this earlier, because I have done this in other sessions we've had, but I wanted to ask how your families are, and hope that, you know, they are safe and doing as well as can be expected, but hope they're doing well. You know, I wonder if we have the video handy, if that's something you can fire up. I thought the video was good. Helene had sent it to me, but if you've got that Mirit handy, maybe we can run that. It's a short 2-minute video, and I kind of thought it helped bring a bunch of things to life for me. But this has been great. But if you can pull it up, great. If not, I might be able to fire it up myself.
I can try to find it. I don't have it really fast.
While we're looking for that, I just want to mention that Mirit and Inbal will be visiting Westchester in January. They will be speaking at Temple Israel New Rochelle on January 13th. I don't have a time. Do you ladies know what time?
Which one of them? Because we have a lot of events.
Temple Israel New Rochelle on January 13th.
Temple Israel New Rochelle, I think it's a 7 p.m.
Okay.
We will also be at KTI on Shabbat for Shabbat service.
Great.
Great.
We'll be speaking at the professionals roundtables on January 14th. And we would love to meet you guys personally if anyone's like interested in hearing more and support. We're there, and we're happy to share our contact and to
I will
schedule.
send a follow-up email to everybody who registered, so they'll get the information on the public events, and also I'll give them your email.
Great, thank
information.
you.
So if they want to reach out to you, maybe they want to bring you to their synagogue or other group, then they can, you know, get back to you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I can't find the video very quick. I'm sorry.
All right, hang on a second. Hang on. Let's see if we can bring this up. Let's see. Oh, here we go.
Got it?
I think I've got to, let's see if I download it. Yes, I do have it. And
It's just a 2-minute video about the camp, the summer camp.
Right.
That Dror runs. And
during the summer, we had camps for evacuated children and children that were under fire up north on the northern border of Israel. As I mentioned before, we had kids from the Gazi area and kids who really needed the time for healing, but also for building their resilience back.
Is that a video or is that an image? Hang on one second.
A Vimeo.
Oh, hold on. Is this it right here? Eshbal Therapeutic?
No, that's not it.
No, that's something else. Hang on. What happens with video? Here we are. All right. Before I hit play, let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. How we doing there? Right? Go.
Rockets continued to fall and the war wages on in Israel. We had no choice but to stay determined and to give the kids the summers in need. And as for the teams, we have leadership training programs. Teach them to be leaders in their own communities, or for the younger kids in their communities. It helps to build great resilience inside the community and for them to be a team. It helps processing the trauma, and it's great for them to have a role. My name is Amon Jean. I'm from Kibbutz Chomet Gitamot in Matachia. I am a Madricha of sixth grade. Seeing how me and my team dealt with this year and all of the challenges and how we solved the problems that we had, the movement is the grace to be free and to have fun and to be aside from everything that's going on and be for an hour just with their friends and then madrichot and have fun and learn about stuff and just be free for like 1 hour in a week.
Just like our year-round programs, our camps welcomed Jewish, Arab, and Druze kids who have all been deeply impacted by the ongoing war. Thanks to the support of federations, foundations, and many individual donors, we are able to give hope to thousands of Israeli kids.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad we did that. What a perfect way to wrap things up. That's fantastic.
Could I just ask, because it wasn't very clear to me, the video? So can you just give a 1 minute, summary of what the participants were talking about? I see that
maybe the sound wasn't coming through from my laptop. Sorry.
So, Mirit,
Yeah. They were talking about how these camps were supposed to be giving the participants some either like ease of what they're going through, just to be kids or youth for a change and to be able to breathe. But also, these summer camps were really, we had young educators, young counselors course, young leadership courses, who really gave kids the tools to be leaders of their communities. And that was what I was talking about at the beginning. One of our main principles is about giving the kids and the youth and the adults the strength and the ability to take responsibility over their communities, and by that giving them the strength back to and gaining their power back and gaining their I think, their future back, and being able to help someone and be vital. And that was what it was really about. Even if someone went to just like a camp, this was what it was really about. And we really had the attendance of kids who really needed that. So that's what was the video was about.
You know, camp experiences are quite impactful and profound, way beyond the mere hours that kids spend in them. You can ask anyone who's attended
Right, you
camps
guys
here in
know
the
all
States or
about it.
elsewhere. We'll know all about it. So I think we should try to maybe circulate that video link. I guess we were all able to see it, but the sound was coming through my my laptop and not my phone. So I would encourage everybody to watch it. It's quick, it's easy, and it'll make you smile. And on that note, I do love the fact that you're going to actually be in town in January. That's fantastic. We will circulate that out to people. And you do amazing work, and you probably don't get recognized always the way you ought to be, but the proof's in the pudding, and these kids probably, I mean, the fact that all of you are, I guess none of them are ex-Dror people. You're always a Dror person for life, and maybe many of these kids will be the same.
Thank you so much, Danny. Thank you for having us, and we'll be happy to meet anyone when we're there.
We'll be happy
We
to
look
be.
forward to seeing you in January.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all. Thank you all for participating. Stay tuned for future Israel Connection series events and broadcasts. And Chag Chanukah Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Thanks, everybody.